a show we got for you today. So, Karl Heiser back on the show. We talk about how crazy March was already, the first opening weekend of the tournament. Big Ten, Luka Garza. We get into honestly a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not really going to spoil that. But before we get into that, just want to talk about the college wrestling tournament that happened this weekend. So in case you guys didn't know, Division One NCAA Wrestling Championships went down Thursday to Saturday. Crazy tournament. A lot of injuries, a lot of bad wrestling calls. There was one of the worst robberies I've ever seen. Josh Heil from Campbell, he got screwed. Um, just shitty officiating all around. College wrestling needs to incorporate some sort of new rules to go along with the step outs and the stalls. And they tried to add the action call a few years ago, thinking that would change things. It really didn't. It just hasn't been great. But a few storylines coming from the tournament were one, Spencer Lee, 125-pound champion from Iowa. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. When I was doing my previews, it was a no-brainer, clear and away favorite to win the whole thing. Little did anyone know, dude tore his ACL 8 days prior to winning a national championship. That is incredible. He tore his ACL 2 years ago in the Big Ten or in the NCAA Finals. He tore his first ACL. The man won a national championship on no ACLs. Kind of crazy. Good for him. It's just wrestlers are just the toughest motherfuckers in the world, no doubt about it. Next up in the tournament is the story of Shane Griffith, Stanford Wrestling. Shane Griffith came in as the 8th seed of the tournament at 165 pounds. Beat Alex Marinelli in the quarterfinals, and the dude just ended up going on a fucking tear, winning the whole tournament, beating Jake Wenzel in the finals. But the reason why that's so important is because he's going to be the last ever Stanford national champion, because they're cutting their program, despite the fact that they had someone privately or whatever, they crowdsourced $11 million, which would fund the program for something like 21 years, something crazy like that. And Stanford administration just said no. So save Stanford wrestling, keep Stanford wrestling. Hopefully the wrestling community can do something and fix that. Doesn't seem likely, but good for Shane. Dude graduated in 3 years from college, 3 years from Stanford, just so he could compete this season and have a chance to transfer somewhere else and get another championship or get his master's degree, whatever the case may be. Just a shit situation for him and that whole entire program. Hope to see it rectified, and I hope to have a little bit more of an in-depth college wrestling recap Thursday. But all right, enjoy the show with Karl. Thanks, guys. Tune in.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. In case you hadn't heard, your favorite Renegade Sports Media Group has its own Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media to support our efforts to continuously bring you sports, gaming, and other media coverage as only we can. We've got 4 different membership tiers. For $3 a month, we'll give you a simple thank you on our Patreon site. For $6 a month, you get a thank you and you get to become a recruit in Jackson Law's Vendetta University Gaming Series. For $10 a month, you get everything from the previous tiers, a special thank you at the end of our videos, free access to our upcoming Discord chat, and a free koozie after 4 months. And then the big dog, $50 a month, gets you everything from the previous tiers, as well as opportunities for Fantasy League invites, stream gaming, possible invites to mock NFL and NBA draft sessions, a once-a-month Google Hangout, and after 4 months, a free t-shirt. Yeah! Go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media and help us to improve our pledge to bring you the best sports, gaming, and other media coverage.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Kriegs Korner. It's Corner with a K. Today, I am joined by actually the first ever double guest. Outside of Scotty Ice, Karl is the only guy that has made 2 appearances on the show. One of them was a lot more last minute, like craziness. And with Nadu, obviously, and now Karl Heiser back on Corner. Karl, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, yeah, that's a fun stat. I wasn't actually aware of that. That's cool. But yeah, I'm excited to be back on. Looking forward to talking some college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, so before we get into like the actual basketball shit, uh, what's your March Madness setup looking like? Your TVs, how many games you got going at once? Like, how do you do this? Because this must be like your fucking heaven.
Yeah, so I'm usually streaming a game like in my room, and there'll be a guy across the hall from me who's streaming a different one. And then if I'm in class, like I'll pull up March Madness live and be watching the game like while I'm taking notes and stuff. Yeah, trying not to miss any big games. Like there's some stuff that I unfortunately like have to miss for, but then I'm usually checking my phone like every 10 minutes just to see what the scores are. So
So did you like the since you're in school, did you like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday setup versus the Thursday, Friday, or like how's that? How you feeling about that?
Uh, I didn't mind it. It was definitely different from what I think everyone was used to, but I didn't mind it just because it freed me up to watch more of the games. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll decide to keep it. I'm cool with it. If not, then I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of missed out on that first Thursday. Just like obviously we had the first four games on, but that doesn't. Even though this year those games were definitely better than they traditionally been in the past. UCLA
Yeah,
Michigan State was a great game, came down to the wire. Izzo and March. I saw you took Izzo on March on your first four. I was following to see who I was taking. Would you go? Did you go 3 for 4 on that?
I think I went 2 for 4, but the the two I was wrong on was an overtime game and like a blown double digit second half lead. So like I'm not mad about it.
All right. Are you a
Yeah,
gambling guy or no? Do you
I'm
dabble in
not.
that?
No,
No.
I don't. No.
Smart. All
Yeah.
right. So get into the actual bracket and shit. I mean, I know I'm not the only one, but like this year has literally been one of the most crazy I can remember. Maybe it's just because we didn't have it last year, so everything seems like it's magnified. But three of my four Final Four teams were gone in the first 2 days, and that I can't remember that ever happening. It is what happened this year? Like, what was the difference?
I've honestly been trying to figure that out too because people like I've been looking around and people have kind of been saying like yeah I mean that's just March Madness for you but like people don't understand that this doesn't happen even in like a normal March Madness
No.
year. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I think at the end of the day it's probably good for the sport, just because the level of competition seems like it's at least a lot closer this year than it has been. But yeah, it's just one of those years. I think I might get out of this weekend with only like 2 or 3 Elite Eight teams left, and that I've never done that bad. So on in one sense it's cool because you root for the upsets, you root for because it would be boring if the top seeded team just won every game. But it's also like a little frustrating because like I spend all this time like researching these teams and then they're just done. So
Yeah, this year we had a 15, a 13, 11, um, and a 14, all in the Sweet 16 or on their way to a Sweet 16 right now, which is normally you get like one or two of those, and then you get, your occasional 12 will be the five. But this year I just felt like every region had one team that no one thought was going to do anything and make it. And specifically, actually, fuck it, I was gonna do this in a different way, but like my thought this year when making my brackets, when make filling out my bracket was the Big Ten was such an elite conference and they only played each other and like iron sharpen irons, like pressure makes diamonds, whatever cliche bullshit line you want to feed me. I bought into it about the Big Ten, and now they have two teams left. How wrong were we at the Big Ten? Like, why? What happened?
yeah, I mean, I think there was a Big Ten bubble for a lot of the year where they were just getting these quality wins against each other, but those were based on these sort of preconceived notions we had about each team being, like a top 10 team. Um, and I mean, the bubble is bursting right now. They're just all going out. And some of that is like, their coaches just are not built for March. And some of it is like matchups. And some of it's just maybe they weren't that good. not as good as we thought they were. And then, I mean, on the flip side, you have the Pac-12, who's I think still undefeated right now.
Yup, 8-0.
And
And then
yeah,
little fun fact, they're also 8-0 against the spread, which is even crazier. Not even just straight up. Like when these teams are covering, the Big Ten. I guess the bubble thing kind of worked, and I guess the weird thing about this year was that since you only played each other, you only got to like bask in your own glory. And like if Iowa doesn't get a chance, I mean, they played Gonzaga close, and that was kind of after that, everyone thought the Big Ten was just the cream of the crop. And that clearly was not the case. But then, so you just think it's because the West Coast, like no one stays up to watch those games? Like, or are they that good?
that might be part of it. I'm honestly, even though they haven't lost yet, I'm not totally sold on the fact that they've just been this good all this time, because I don't think they were. But I mean, they've definitely gotten hot at the right time. The thing with the Big Ten is like you had these teams like, at the time that the season was canceled last year, you had these teams like Wisconsin and Illinois and Iowa who had basically their whole team coming back. And they were all, when they stopped playing, they were all like top 10 teams.
Right.
So I think the assumption was that, they're going to be as good or even better because, they're all seniors now. They'll have, they all have like all American players coming back. So the expectation was kind of that they'll just kind of pick up where they left off. And I think that formed a lot of the opinions about how good these teams were. And, when we talk about their resumes, like how good their wins are against each other. And then, once they started playing teams that weren't Big Ten teams, they struggled. So, it's tough to see for the Big Ten. But
Yeah, I know you're a Big Ten guy, but like the ironic part about that and is that Maryland, of course, you had them losing first round, right? You were calling them out all year, saying how shit they were, and you're not the only Maryland fan who ever say the same shit. So, and then of course now
it's
they're
just
alive.
it's kind of a situation where like if they lose, like cool, I called it, and if they win, it's like cool, my team won. So
Yeah,
can't really complain either way.
It's a win-win for you. A little behind the scenes stuff. So I was trying to get Karl on last week, and then for whatever reason it didn't work. So we were playing today, and I was like, all right, what time you want to go? He's like 9:00. So then I checked the schedule to see maybe if that was like the dead time, because we're winding down the last day of the Sweet 16 tickets would be punched after the night, and then I was like, wait, Maryland's literally starting at like 8:50. I was like, it's either a really good thing for him or a really bad thing. It's one of those things where I don't know if you want to watch or what the deal was, but listen, they're in the first half right now. We're recording around, I don't know, around 9:00. Alabama's only up 5 with 8 minutes to go in the first half, so there's some time. And also Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan looked like they would be a little bit hairy. Now they're up close to 10, so those could be the two Big Ten teams left. But yeah, I got burned on Illinois, probably the biggest, and that is I'm to the next point is they went down. Sister Jean, Loyola Chicago. Were they seated too high or too low? Like were they not an 8 ranked team? Because that was kind of the talk I heard after. Like their spreads were never like two, like 8 versus 1 like type of spread. Everything seemed to be kind of even. And then I heard maybe they're a top 10 Ken Pom team now. Is that right?
They entering the tournament, they were a top 10 Ken Pom team, which a lot of people were like either really like trumpeting like Loyola Chicago's like a really good team still, and other people were kind of just saying like Ken Pom is full of it. Which I mean, Ken Pom is not. I don't really swear by Ken Pom, but I like it for just kind of evaluating teams against each other sometimes. Yeah, the thing with Loyola Chicago is like their efficiency ratings were, the equivalent of a 2 seed in an average year. So, I mean, it's a little messed up for Illinois, I feel like, because they could have they were a Sweet 16, Elite 8 type of team. And it's tough that that's the team they had to play in the second round. Led by a 102-year-old nun and a, retired plumber. And,
Her pregame prayer was incredible. They make like 50% of their layups and 30% of their threes. Like, we got this. And I mean,
she had all the analytics in there. It was good stuff.
listen, she wasn't wrong. And it wasn't even like it was in a close game. They kind of beat them wire to wire. It sucks because I'm a Big Ten guy. Not for any particular reason, but like it's just one of those things where when you don't root for your team, you root for your conference because it makes the collective look better, and the Big Ten just looked absolutely atrocious. But and part of that was just because of Illinois got the shit end of the stick. Into another one of the crazier stories. Oral Roberts knocked off Ohio State 15 versus 2, and that wasn't it for them. They won last night. They beat who they beat last night? Uh
It'd be Florida.
beat Florida, right. So they beat an
Yeah.
SEC team. Now they got Arkansas, another SEC team in the Sweet 16. But this is a little bit different because Arkansas already played them this year. Do you think?
Yeah, they
Do you think
did.
it? Which is such a weird move because we were talking about how all the teams stayed in their conferences in their bubble, but their head coach, whatever, I just want to say Musbus, I forget his actual name, made sure to schedule all these like lower division or lower conference type teams, and he kind of hit it on nail on the head with Oral Roberts. Are they going to do it again or?
I mean, yeah, that's the thing with Oral Roberts is they're really fun to watch because they play absolutely no defense and they just hand it to these two guys. They have Division One's top scorer. They hand it to one of like their two best players and just have them chuck up shots, and it's so fun. Yeah, the thing with Arkansas's non-conference schedule is actually pretty funny because they played Oral Roberts, Abilene Christian, and North Texas.
All three won their first rounds. Yep.
As double-digit seeds. So I don't know. That's just a fun little fact there. But the thing, yeah, Oral Roberts though, once they beat Ohio State, it's kind of like, well, all right, they could beat like anybody. Like Ohio State went to overtime in the Big Ten championship game, and I know that we're kind of saying now maybe the Big Ten wasn't as good as we thought, but
It was still a Big Ten.
It's still a Big Ten, right? Like it's still a Power 5 conference. Like they went wire to wire with Illinois, and yeah, so I'd love to see Oral Roberts in the Elite Eight. I kind of just want him to go as far as they can at this point.
They kind of remind me of like Florida Gulf Coast and outside of the shooting and the dunking, but like the no defense. Like I know very notoriously after the head coach is the coach at USC now. I forget his name, but he was like, yeah, in practice, we just have fun, blast music, and let the kids just do what they want. And like they just start throwing down crazy dunks. And listen, Oral Roberts is kind of the same idea. You just run around and you don't have to play defense. Give it to those two guys, like you said, and just see what happens. And it's been happening, which is crazy. All right, a little technical difficulties. If you're watching this on YouTube, a little jump cut. But if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube video channel, all that fun stuff. All right. Before we got cut off, I was asking about Shaka Smart. Is he a legitimate coach? All I know from him is his like poofy hair and his, I saw him his poofy hair and his like half mask the other day at Texas, and all I know from him is his VCU days. Is he like a gimmick coach or like? I feel like Texas definitely underachieved this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think on the one hand you have to understand that like winning in March Madness is tough. Like you won and you're done. So you can't really afford to make any mistakes. At the same time though, since he made the Final Four with VCU, Shaka Smart's 2-5 in the tournament, or 2-7 maybe. Yeah, not great. So he's made it to the round of 32 twice, and other than that, he's lost every other first round game that he's been in. So
not good for Shaka.
Not good for Shaka. He was, before they kind of went on their little run and won the Big 12 tournament this year, he was definitely on the hot seat, I think, because they were a team that, they have a lottery pick on their team and Greg Brown, and they're definitely a team that I think most people thought was, Final Four-ish caliber. I mean, I had them in my
Final Four. Yeah.
I bought in. I bought into Texas, and they let me down big time. They got met with just a brutal matchup in Abilene Christian because Abilene Christian is the best team in the country at forcing turnovers, and Texas is not that great with ball security. So it was just one of those deals where, your opponent, their strengths play into your weaknesses. And from there, it's just grinding it out, and they lost. So
Do the
yeah,
shitty matchups always happen like this in the March Madness? Like Loyola Chicago running into Illinois, like that. I was a shitty matchup from the get go. Is this just like this is just typical March, or are we kind of just forgetting because of our absence of last year?
I think part of it is we kind of forgot how crazy it is just because we didn't have it last year. So just everything seems crazy now. But from
Yeah.
what I remember, I don't remember there being this many just sort of perfect matchups for, upsets as far as that goes.
And the reason that I could tell that, and this is like from a very casual college basketball fan, is that these second round games are just as good as normal Sweet 16 games. Like they're close or wire to wire. Normally, like the 12 or the 13 seed that wins, they run into the 6 seed who is supposed to be like an or whatever, and they're beating them or coming close. And obviously, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but the Chicago thing. One thing that I do have to say about that is it is crazy that Nadu got them at 300 to 1 all that time. He said, I know he said it on Cheese and he said it on our show. Crazy. That's just stuff.
Yeah.
I guess when you're a hot gambler, you're a hot gambler, but that is crazy. Other coaching stuff is why does the zone work for Syracuse and Boeheim? Like it doesn't work at any other level of basketball on a consistent level. Like we've seen it. It does not like is it because he doesn't have the athletes? Like for what reason and why does it still work when it seems like it's pretty simple thing to figure out because he's been running for God knows how long.
Yeah, you're really gonna get me going with this because I don't know if you read my article today.
I saw a little bit.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it's frustrating because like I said in the article, like it's both just genius and frustrating at the same time because Boeheim, he's been running the zone for upwards of 30 years, like 30. He's been coaching for longer than that, but like 30 years ago is when he like implemented it for good. And he's been like kind of studying it, I think, for upwards of 40 to 50 years. Like he's been working on this thing for a long time. And I mean, what it does is like, I mean, it lets you kind of make up for some limited, athletes that you might have. It lets you hide bad defenders just because of the spacing. And since nobody else runs it, other teams just haven't seen it before. The thing that gets me though is like the ACC, they're never good. They're never good in the ACC ever. And then they get to the tournament and it's like they're guaranteed to win at least a game, maybe two.
I just don't get it because the brackets come out on Selection Sunday. Obviously, you're not playing until at least Thursday or Friday. I know this year was a little bit different with like travel and like getting it tested and maybe not being able to get as much gym time as you want because you're sharing with other teams. But like, how do you not have your scout team, whatever they're called in basketball, run the zone, figure it out, break it? I mean, I guess the one thing that kind of plays in like the change in basketball is that the mid-range jumper is just kind of obsolete because it's coaches don't like it. It's not very efficient. It doesn't, it's a bad shot most likely, but I feel like shooters are shooters in general, and you got to have your kids ready to just like. I feel like no matter how much credit we want to give him, it's also a failure on the other coaches. No.
I mean, yeah, like that's kind of my thing too. Is like you know exactly what you're getting when you play Syracuse. You know exactly what you're getting from them defensively, and yeah, I mean they're giving like the thing with the 2-3 zone is they're giving you that mid-range shot at the free throw line all day long. You just have to make it. The thing with West Virginia, I guess yesterday was I didn't think they even played particularly bad against the zone. I mean, the other thing that kind of factors into Syracuse's little run here is they're just shooting the lights out from three. They're hitting everything.
Yeah.
Everything they
Buddy's
take is
going
going
nuts.
Buddy's going nuts. He's averaging like 28 points a game. Yeah, so they're, I mean, combined with just whatever reason that people have for not being able to play against his own. I mean, they're also, backing it up on offense. So, yeah.
No matter how well they play on D, if they're going to shoot the lights out, they're going to shoot the lights out, and that's going to be a formula of success on any March Madness team, no matter who you're playing, because you just need one guy to kind of go nuts, and it's been Buddy, which is kind of ironic and good for the family, I guess. Just now that people are finally starting to put it together, the internet jokes are getting funny. It's like, oh, I don't know if you saw. There's been a screenshot that's been going around. I saw it tweeted maybe 100 times of like home visit with him, and it's literally they live in the same house. Like, why was it documented on like a recruiting website? A few more things. I've been seeing a lot of Luka Garza hype, and
Yeah.
then I watched the game today, and I wasn't really impressed with him. And then why did they retire his number already? Like, is that not the weirdest thing you've ever heard, or is it
I,
that
I
important?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's that weird because I mean he's the leading scorer in school history, which is a big deal. He was like a top 4 scorer in all of Division One this year. I mean, and even today, like you said, you weren't that impressed with him. I think he went for like 28 and 15 or something. Like,
I guess the rebounds thing is kind of just not that I shouldn't say I throw them out, but like when you're the tall guy in in college basketball, especially when you don't have to leave the key on defense, like you're gonna
yeah,
get the rebound. So like it's a big difference in NBA and the college basketball where
sure. Yeah, I got you. That's
so
fair.
and probably he was disappointing only because of the way that he's been hyped up. And I feel like if you're retiring someone's jersey like after senior day or whenever it was, like she's got to at least try and win you a national championship. He didn't even get around in 32.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a fair criticism of him. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, he was probably robbed for National Player of the Year last year, and he's probably going to win it this year. And how often does your school have a National Player of the Year and who scores 25 a game?
Especially if you're Iowa, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, Iowa came into the tournament with some pretty obvious defensive issues. Like they almost let Oregon score 100 points on them, which I never thought would happen. I thought I gave them a little more credit on defense than that, but that was kind of the big knock against them was like, yeah, they can shoot, and Garza's going to give you 30, and Bohannon's going to hit 7 threes, but they're just going to let you have anything on defense. So,
is he an NBA player?
He'll get drafted. He'll be like probably a second round.
That was a nice way of saying no.
He'll well, my primary concern with him is just like his athleticism, and I guess there's a mold for that in the NBA where you have guys like Jokic who isn't like the most athletic big man, but he's a good scorer and he can pass and he can do whatever you need on offense. I mean, so much of the NBA is like running in transition, and if you've ever seen Garza run in transition, it's like he's not getting back. Like it's just not going to happen. So
is it a hustle thing or is it just like an athleticism thing?
No, it's not even a hustle thing. Like he hustles, he's just not fast, and like he's just he's big, like he weighs a lot, like so, I think he can be an asset on offense for an NBA team, but if he's not getting up the court, like he's not going to help you. And yeah, just with how much the NBA is playing in transition, I don't really know what that looks like for Garza. I do think he gets a shot at the next level just because of how good he was in college. Usually the college superstars always get a shot, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see with him.
All right. Now that the Sweet 16 is pretty much almost set, Michigan just won in the middle of the show. So they're in, and we're just waiting on Colorado, Florida State, and the Maryland game. But how do you see the next round shaking out? Give me your updated Final Four from this point on.
All right, yeah, my updated Final Four is still. I mean, Gonzaga has to be in there.
Yeah.
I saw a stat today that this was the first time all season that they were outshot from the field. Like Oklahoma shot 50% and Gonzaga shot less than 50%, and Gonzaga still won by double digits.
And they covered.
And well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't really keeping track of that, but I'll take the word for it. And then after that, I mean, what is it? The South, yeah, the South region's really opened up for Baylor. I'm still not sold on Villanova. And I mean, Arkansas is good, and Oral Roberts is a buzzsaw right now, but I think Baylor's definitely better than both of them, so I'll put Baylor in there. I'll actually throw Loyola Chicago in there.
I was just looking at that too. It's
because
they got them out the tough teams.
I don't see any way around like putting them in because I don't think Oregon State I still don't think they're that good. I think their season reflects that they're not that good. I mean, good for them for making a 16. And then, I mean, Houston had a lot of trouble with Rutgers defense, and that wasn't the 2-3 zone that everyone has problems with. So, I mean, when they face Syracuse, I think that's maybe going to cause some issues. And at the very least, I think they could also lose to Loyola Chicago too. So I like Loyola Chicago to get out of that region now. And then, this one's tough because I think the what is it? The East region with Michigan and them. I think this one's kind of tough because I think all those teams are kind of on the same level, like Michigan, Alabama, Florida State. I think they're all about the same to me. Yeah, I think
That's if Alabama doesn't lose to Maryland right now.
yeah.
If
If
Maryland
Alabama,
wins,
so
they're going the whole thing.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, if Alabama loses, then Maryland to the Final Four. Never gonna happen. I'm just gonna keep saying it, and then I've been wrong. So
Dude, the one thing I will say is I know you and Jeff were talking about last time how you want the new coach to come in. This does not help your cause.
no, it really does not. It doesn't at all. Yeah, for the East region, I'll take. I really don't think Michigan gets there. I really don't. So I'm gonna take either. I guess either Alabama or Florida State, but I'm not really sure which one. Um, I mean,
You don't have to know.
that's a tough one. I don't have a pick for this one.
The game's not even over yet.
Yeah, but yeah, that for that region, like I think that one's a little more up in the air than the other ones. The other ones have kind of like opened up for the top teams, or at least the best teams that are left. And that
Pretty much
little,
bottom line is Zaga's still going to win, huh?
that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. Yeah,
No matter what happens.
I don't know. I mean, now they don't have to play Iowa again. They didn't have to play Virginia. They won't have to play Virginia. Depending on, did Kansas and USC play? No, I guess not. So they.
Oh no, you're right. That starts in
That the late one.
That tips in 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So they
Doesn't
have to play
matter
one
still.
of those teams.
Zaga's still going to roll.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think Gonzaga to the Final Four is a
that's probably why they buried that game. Honestly, it's the least important now because that's 6 versus 3. That's supposed to be like a great matchup. Bill Self versus the old Florida Gulf Coast guy.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I picked USC in this game, but my bracket's just gone to garbage. So, I mean, we'll see. That's the other thing that kind of stinks about like this year for all the upsets is, like the knowledge I have now about these teams has not helped me any more than it did if the bracket came out like 2 months ago. Like it was always going to be for me Gonzaga and Baylor in the final, and now they're like the only 2 teams I have left. And then everything else I thought I knew about these teams is wrong. So, yeah, that's the kind of tough thing. I think maybe you have an opinion on this. I almost feel like there have been too many upsets because I think sometimes, it's sort of like in fantasy football when like your best players get injured and then you're kind of just like not really invested for the rest of the year. Like when you lose all the teams that you thought were going to go super far really early, I think people aren't as invested in paying attention the rest of the
when it comes to like brackets and stuff and the pools and all that, 100% agree. Because as soon as Ohio State lost, I texted all my boys. I was like, I'm not even checking the pool again. Like, there's no reason for me to check. Like, I know my Final Four team is done, and that was until, and then once I think I forget the order of how it went down, but I think Texas lost right after that.
Yeah.
Or like, and once you have 2 of the 4 done, I know it's one of those things where everyone has the same picks, but like, no, you're not winning a bracket when one of your Final Four teams is out for round 1. So when it comes to like the money side of it and gambling and like the friends part of it, I agree with you, but it is really cool to see these programs, the one like the under the radar ones, and the upsets get cool again is that if they keep winning, because like,
yes,
and I think we've kind of gotten a good sense of that because like I said earlier is that these second round matches are okay, so it's not an issue. But if we had all these upsets and then they all just got blown out of the water on Sunday, Monday, it would have been like, yeah, this tournament sucks because of this and this. But all these teams, I mean, Oral Roberts coming out 15-2 and then you beat Florida to 7, you're going to have these teams, and it's not like they're one-time flukes, and it's so we'll see what happens. Villanova, North Texas will be a good one. We'll see.
Yeah. So
Oh no,
I
that one
agree.
happened already. Villanova won. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
read
yeah,
that
yeah.
wrong.
I agree with that actually. I think when you're an upset team, there's like definitely a lot of pressure that comes with that. Because if Oral Roberts got beat by 30 against Florida, we'd be like, well, that was stupid. Like, what was the point of that? Like,
We would have all wanted to see Michigan State or Ohio State, Florida instead. But no, it's gonna play out. Obviously, it kind of played out this weekend, and then next weekend again. If these teams are legitimate and if Syracuse wins again, then it becomes cool again. But if they're gonna get blown out, it's just I would have rather had the better teams and later, just because it means more as you get further and further in the tournament. It's yeah. So when it comes to gambling, too many seeds knocked down because even everyone I picked was wrong. Like I picked Georgetown. I picked Georgetown buying in the Big East hype. I was wrong. I picked the wrong Big East team, or the wrong the wrong other former Big East team.
yeah,
I picked against Creighton because I thought everything going on with
like behind the scenes.
in
Yeah,
their house was being a big issue.
yeah,
Wrong. I get we kind of saw that with Ohio getting their shit kicked out of them. They lost today, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
one of those things. It's March, it happens, but wacky ass year. But I don't know. The only thing I know is just easier for Gonzaga.
yeah, yeah. It's opening up for him. So
All right, Carl.
if you're hoping for a year where Gonzaga wasn't going to win, this might not be it for you.
Enjoy the Maryland game. Hopefully they come back.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Thank you.
uh, Carl, thanks for coming on. See you soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep.